Today, we are jumping into a really fascinating and honestly, a pretty talked about set of ideas. We're looking at a system of empowerment called the rules of dark feminine energy.
That's right. And these rules, they're kind of all over the place, blending, modern self-help with some really ancient spiritual concepts.
Right. So our mission today is pretty simple. We want to unpack the mechanism here. What are the key behavioral shifts, the mindsets that this material claims will make you, as they always say, unapologetically yourself?
And it's important to say up front, this isn't just about motivational quotes. The sources we're looking at, they detail a whole system. It requires some serious internal work.
So we're talking personal, discipline, spiritual alchemy, all that.
Exactly. And it positions this dark feminine energy, or DFE, not as something evil, but as the wild, untamed shadow parts of yourself. The intuition, the primal rage, the boundaries, all the stuff that has to be integrated.
Okay, so for you listening, we're extracting the actionable blueprints. What are the rules? Where do we even begin with this?
Well, we start with the absolute foundation, which in this system is self-respect, and it is non-negotiable. The first, and maybe the most powerful rule is, be prepared to walk away at any given moment.
Walk away. Okay, that sounds simple, but the source insists it's absolute. So regardless of history or kindness or how good you think their heart is, that's a high bar.
It is, because the entire system is built on internal validation, not external. The DFE, as they call her, doesn't stay where it's just safe or comfortable. She stays where she is respected and loved. Full stop.
And the moment that respect wavers, even a little bit, that's the cue.
That's the cue. The sources say you have to listen to your body first. That feeling of being icky inside, or that little unsettled tick of intuition. That's your signal to go, even before your brain has logically justified it.
So how do you actually do that? If your rational mind is screaming, but wait, we have history, or they didn't mean it, how do you maintain the discipline to just leave?
That is the discipline. And the sources get really poetic about it. They say leaving is your ritual and disappearing is your power.
A ritual. I like that framing.
It's defined by your absence, your silence. You don't send the long paragraphs explaining yourself. You don't chase. You don't look for closure from them. The boundary is your silence.
Yeah.
They disrespect you. They lose access to you immediately.
That feels radical. I mean, doesn't that risk making you seem overly dramatic or, creating drama?
Well, the framework would argue that worrying about how you look to others is the very thing that keeps you trapped. This isn't about punishing them. It's about training you to prioritize your own peace. You pull your energy back.
It sets a standard. I'm not here to be chased. I'm here to be respected.
Exactly. So if that's the standard for absence, what about when you are present? That brings us right to rule number 2. Shut your mouth and be mysterious.
Okay, so this is about energy conservation.
Totally. The sources really warn against oversharing your goals, your manifestations, anything, because you might be projecting that energy onto someone with let's say, a limited mindset, and that can dilute the whole thing. Privacy is power.
But that's so countercultural now, isn't it? We're rewarded for being transparent, for sharing our journey. How does being mysterious actually build power?
It creates a magnetic pull. If you're always proving yourself, you're basically giving off this needy energy. But the DFE is secure. She doesn't need to prove anything because she is the proof.
So you speak less, observe more.
And you let people see the result, the manifestation, rather than hearing about the plan beforehand. You save all that energy to actually make it happen.
Okay, let's pivot to maybe the biggest concept in all this, the one that requires the most internal work. Rule number 3, the art of alchemy, transmuting pain into power.
This is, I would argue, the most sophisticated part of the whole system. Alchemy here means taking all that negative energy, the pain, anger, heartbreak, gossip, all of it, and literally converting it into something beneficial.
Like a glow up, or more money, or becoming, as the source says, hotter and smarter and richer.
Yes. So you receive that negative energy, but you don't just hold on to it and you don't send it back to sender. You use it as fuel.
Okay, so if someone betrays you, that intense, that fire you feel, that becomes fuel for a career move or something.
Precisely. Heartbreak becomes the energy for a massive life change. You become the alchemist of your own pain.
I have to push back a little, though. How do you know you're doing healthy alchemy and not just, suppressing a massive amount of hurt until you burn out?
That is the crucial question.
Yeah.
And the sources say this is transmutation, not suppression. Suppression is bottling it up. Transmutation is actively processing and redirecting that energy's force.
And how is that even possible?
Well, this is where it gets a little metaphysical.
Hmm.
The sources point to a philosophical idea, their hermetic law of polarity, which you find in the book The Kabbalion.
Okay, for anyone who hasn't read that, what's the short version? Why does this law of polarity matter here?
The basic idea is that everything has two poles. Things that seem like opposites, hot and cold, love and hate, are actually the same thing, just on different ends of the same spectrum.
Like a thermometer. Hot and cold are just different degrees of temperature.
Exactly. So if you apply that to emotion, pain and power are just two poles of the same spectrum of intense energy. That raw feeling of heartbreak or injustice is just high-intensity energy.
So you're not getting rid of the energy, you're just changing its frequency.
You're elevating it.
Yeah.
You use your intention to shift it up the scale. It lets you reframe rejection as redirection. You stop being a victim of the energy and become its director. You literally feed off the evil eye.
Turning trauma into triumph. That connects directly to this idea of self-devotion, which the system calls sacred selfishness.
Yes, this is about stopping the guilt you feel for wanting more depth, more passion, more luxury. It's not about just getting stuff. It's about seeing your desires as sacred clues to your potential.
So what's the line between sacred selfishness and just, regular harmful selfishness?
Sacred selfishness is about managing your internal resources, your time, your energy. You have to prioritize them so fiercely that you can maintain that high frequency we were just talking about.
So if you're drained and exhausted, you can't do the alchemy.
You can't. So making yourself the #1 priority isn't selfish. It's a sacred act. It's how you stop shrinking yourself to be more digestible for other people.
That makes perfect sense. And that high standard for yourself has to lead to better boundaries, which is the next rule: be assertive.
Right, but the source makes a really key distinction here. They say DFE assertiveness is not masculine assertiveness. It's not outward or pushing or demanding.
So what does it look like then?
It's more inward. It's about holding your truth without having to yell or justify it. The advice they give is to get comfortable with the 2 seconds of awkwardness that happens after you set a boundary.
Oh, I know that feeling. That little silence after you say a firm no.
Exactly that. You just say, no, sorry, I have other priorities right now. And you stop talking. That silence is the boundary. And their reaction, their awkwardness, that's not your responsibility to manage.
But all this intensity, it sounds exhausting. Where's the balance?
The system is very clear about this. You cannot forget about soft feminine energy. The DFE is the shadow, the boundaries, the rage. The soft feminine is the nurturing, receiving, gentle side. You need both.
And when you balance them, that's what they call the divine feminine.
Yes. It's a constant dance between the two. You can't have one without the other.
So let's talk about the deeper, maybe more metaphysical tools for this. Starting with shadow work. You have to face the trauma to get to this unapologetic self.
Absolutely. Shadow work is facing everything you've tried to hide. And the sources point to astrology as a kind of map for this.
Specifically Lilith and Chiron. For someone who doesn't check their chart every day, what do those mean in this context?
Well, super briefly, Lilith in your chart points to the raw, untamed, often shamed part of you, where you feel guilt. So working with your Lilith placement is about turning that poison into perfume, so to speak.
And Chiron.
Chiron is the wounded healer. It shows you where your deepest wounds are so you know what trauma you need to process and integrate to stop acting from that place of hurt.
Okay, that clarifies it. Another rule that guides the whole pace of life here is to live by the moon.
Right. The DFE recognizes that power comes in cycles, just like the moon. The sources link the 28-day lunar cycle to the menstrual cycle. The full moon is pure dark feminine energy. That's your time to release, cleanse, cut ties.
And the new moon is the opposite.
That's soft feminine energy, a time to set intentions, manifest, and nurture new things. It's basically energetic scheduling.
So you're planning your energy based on the moon sign.
Yes. Moon in Aries. Go hard at the gym, take a risk. Moon in Cancer. Stay home, watch a comfort show, make mac and cheese. You align your effort with the cosmic energy.
This level of intention seems to lead right into the core rule of attraction in this system. Never chase anything, you magnetize it.
This is really the culmination of all the other rules. If you want something, a dream partner, a job, the instruction is to stop looking for it. Instead, you write down every quality you want in that thing.
And then you work on becoming that person yourself.
Exactly. You redirect the energy of the chase inward. The idea is that when you achieve that radical self-love, you vibrate at a frequency that naturally attracts things on that same high level.
And the reverse is also true, according to the sources.
Right. They warn that if you haven't done the shadow work, if you're not vibrating at that self-love frequency, you're an open field for what they call energy vampires, narcissists, sociopaths. So magnetism is directly tied to your internal healing.
Part of cultivating that high frequency is another rule, that sensuality is sacred, and this isn't for an audience.
No, it's a private spell. The DFE seduces herself first. It's about showing yourself love using the 5 love languages every day.
So applying lotion slowly with affirmations, taking a long bath, buying yourself flowers.
Exactly. You are making the person in the mirror the primary focus of your own passion and devotion.
And that flows right into the final behavioral rule. Move slowly.
Yes. If you're constantly rushing, you can't be intentional or sensual. The DFE is secure. She's not in a panic. She breathes deeply, romanticizes her daily routines. That unrushed pace is a sign of deep internal security.
And for anyone listening who wants the instant energetic shift, are there any quick tools the sources recommend to call in that DFE energy?
Oh yeah, there are very specific things. Focus on colors and textures. Think Scorpio or Aries energy. Dark colors, black, red nails, red lipstick, silk or lace. For your look, a shadowy smoky eye or a slick back ponytail.
And what about metaphysical tools?
Lighting rose, red, or pink candles. Working with crystals like carnelian and garnet, these are all just tools to quickly shift your physical frequency and signal that you're calling in that wild, untamed power.
So when we boil it all down, our deep dive shows that this whole system of dark feminine energy is really about radical internal accountability.
It is. It's about building boundaries from a place of self-respect, not reaction. And it's about redirecting every single negative experience back into your own evolution.
You stop being the victim and you choose to transform, well, raw rage into intentional radiance.
Absolutely. By implementing these rules, the alchemy, the boundaries, the magnetism, you're actively redefining your own reality.
And we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. The entire system is built on this idea of becoming the frequency you want to attract. So if the source advises you to become your dream partner to find them, how does applying that same principle, becoming the career success or the financial stability you desire, change the way you approach your goals? If magnetism is based on frequency, what specific high vibrational frequency are you actively cultivating today?